It was a 6, the left-hand path. I called the library ahead of time to ask how to get a library card. They promised to help me with that, but only once the person in charge returned from their break. It's so bizarre that someone specific is needed for such a simple procedure. But maybe they have their own rules here. We'll see. I was so engrossed in my thoughts that I didn't even notice how I ended up in a very familiar alley. My legs seemed to have brought me here on their own. This is where Amir's body was discovered. I looked around uneasy. The police tape at the alley's entrance had already been removed. Even though it's been cleaned up, this place still makes me nauseous. Being here is disgusting. Blood, filth, hungry rats. Calcutta knows how to be disgusting if you know where to look. The nude, decapitated body is terrifying, but it's also revolting. It feels like the stench of death is still lingering in the air. Ugh, I gotta get out of here. I kept walking away from the crime scene. A busy street in the heat of the day awaited me, but anything was better than a filthy, smelly alley. The drive to the library was short. The taxi driver entertained me with a lively conversation, telling me where I should go and what I should see while in Calcutta, but he fell silent as soon as he found out where I came from. Up to a point, the man was sure that I was from another Indian state. As soon as the driver learned that I lived in London, confusion appeared on his face, and he chose not to continue our conversation. By the time I got to the library, the person in charge of issuing library cards had already arrived. I opened the door and almost ran into a young man. Amala Khan, I suppose. Yes. Hello, Miss Khan. My name is Manu. I'll help you with your paperwork as well as teach you how to navigate the library. Oh, that would be brilliant, thank you. Without another word, Manu motioned for me to follow him, and then headed further down the corridor. I obeyed, feeling slightly surprised. He was waiting for me right at the door. I didn't even get to step inside before he dressed me. He also recognized me right away, so weird. You recognize me so easily. I decided to talk to him. It wasn't difficult. The young man continued walking without turning back to me. Trust me, it's obvious who you are and where you come from. What a brilliant deduction. Any desire to talk with him disappeared, so I silently and obediently did what I was told. I showed the necessary documents, filled out some forms, and waited for a while. Manu returned with a small piece of paper and handed it to me. All done, miss. Here's your temporary library card. Manu spoke to me in English, a bizarre blend of English and Hindi. This made me smile. You can talk to me in Hindi if you wish. I do speak the language. You said you'd help me, right? Yes. My library is huge that you wouldn't be able to find your way around on your own. You could hear in his delighted voice that he was proud about it. Yes, the library seems truly enormous. It must be difficult to navigate it. That's right, but I know everything here. I'm looking for books on Shaivism, Shaktism, and Vaishnavism. Anything about your symbolization, pujas, practice? Quite a wide range of topics. Anything more specific? I shook my head. What's the reason for this particular research, if I may ask? Perhaps I'll be able to help. I cast a doubtful glance towards the young man. I just need to know more about it. He hesitated for a moment and then sighed heavily. I'll walk you to the correct section. Stay there with you to help. If you have any specific questions, I'll be able to happy to answer. Are you really that good at this? Good enough. The majority of my workday is spent studying such texts. If you have a lot to do, maybe you shouldn't stay with me? It's okay, Miss Khan. It's part of my job anyway. I'm in charge of this section, where we're headed. Manu led me along a wide, light-filled corridor. The library was vast, multi-leveled, spacious, lined with countless bookshelves. Perhaps I should ask him about the topics that interest me while I walk. I know the basic theology ideas, but perhaps I'll learn something new. Any information would be useful. May I ask you a few questions while we're on our way there? Of course. What would you like to know? Can you please tell me about... Let's try first Shaktism. Briefly. Just what you know. Shaktism is the worship of Shakti, the great mother goddess. But if translated literally, Shakti is not a goddess. Yes, if you know Sanskrit, you know that Shakti is more of an energy than a person. Shaktism honors and elevates the feminine energy as something life-giving and sacred. However, like all energy in Hinduism, it has an avatar, a face. As a result, Shakti is often depicted as a goddess and wife of Shiva. Miss Kahan mentioned it too. Shiva and Shakti are inseparable. Their energy fills him and brings him to life. They are masculine and feminine, correct? Right? It is correct. Shakti also takes on other forms, including Durga, Kala, Parvati, and other goddesses. Durga Puja and Kali Puja are religious holidays honoring two incarnations of the same goddess. Can you please tell me about Vaishnavism? This is one of the largest denominations of Hinduism, isn't it? Yes, it's the cult of the god Vishnu. Do you know anything about him? I know he's part of the Vedic triad. In Hinduism, the three main gods are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, plus their wives. That's right. Vaishnavism is a denomination of Hinduism dedicated to Vishnu. He maintains order, tranquility, and has saved our world from total collapse more than once. Vishnu has an ability to manifest himself in various forms or avatars. When the world is in danger, Vishnu takes on an avatar and comes down to earth to help us. Krishna and Rama are two of his avatars that are the most widely worshipped. Where are those avatars now? Have you seen where the world is? Seriously. I remember that his final avatar, the warrior, will be the Messiah, the herald of the end of the world. Yes, and the beginning of a new world. Can you please tell me about Shaivism? Another popular denomination here in Calcutta. Shiva, the god in whose honor the cult is created, in one of the Hinduism's three primary gods. These are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. In some verses of Shaivism, it is believed that he is the main god among others. Therefore, Shaivism is also a very large branch of Hinduism. Shiva can be considered a dual god. He brings destruction and peace, raucous fun, and humble seclusion. One of his incarnations is responsible for dancing, the other for quiet solitude in the mountains. Shiva often appears as a young, handsome man bringing along the destruction the world needs. Parvati, his wife, is the physical manifestation of Shakti, the feminine energy. Therefore, Shaktism and Shaivism are closely related. Shiva represents masculine energy, while Parvati represents feminine. Can you please tell me... That's out. That's all we need to know. Okay, that was interesting, but I already knew most of it. You're a very inquisitive mind, Miss Korn. Smart women are amazing. Wisdom is a very valuable virtue. I didn't really say anything. But you are curious and you want to learn. It's more the craving for knowledge that is wonderful. This is true. This is why I always say you should continue to educate yourself every day. Not long after we arrived at the section of the library we needed, Manu looked around thoughtfully, wondering which bookshelf to start with. What did you say you were interested in? Symbols and tantras? Maybe the Samhitas? Any text that would describe religious practices, principles. Okay, I understand. The young man began looking through the shelves, searching for relevant books. I looked around, studying the section we were in. It was just a moment ago that we were walking across the massive library hall, and now we are standing in such a secluded area. Here, look through this. Manu emerged from the shelves holding a small stack of volumes in his hands. Oh, so heavy. I put the books on the table and proceeded to sort through them. Interpretation of the Brahma Samhita, the original Brahman Samhita, Pankaratra, Pradipita, as well as interpretations of the Pankaratra Pradipa. The interpretations are in English while the originals are in Sanskrit. I thought aloud as I leafed through each book. Yes, I took the liberty of giving you the Bengali Vishnu Samhitas. Raising my head, I met his gaze. You seem to be interested in the kinds of Hinduism popular here in Calcutta. Well, yes. Thank you so much. How comes you're being so helpful? You're wasting your time on me despite having your job waiting for you. He laughed. He looked friendlier now compared to 15 minutes ago. You are my job. Really? I was asked to help you and look after you. That's why I was the only one who issued your library card. What did I do to deserve such special treatment? I don't know. Maybe it's because you're a foreigner? Or because you're from London? Or maybe because you have a special kind of clearance? 1. How did I know you were from London? 2. Special clearance? Question mark? It was my turn to laugh now. I see, but I've only come to read the text and I have no hidden agenda. Do you know Sanskrit? Not as well as Hindi, but I can read and understand some of it. Were you born in India? No, but I did study Indology. I don't have much experience, though. So I can't even imagine why I was chosen for our task force. Killian said that someone vouched for me, but that's nonsense. Okay, I'll start with the interpretations of Samhitas. There should be something useful there. We both fell silent and I began reading. To be honest, it seems like the Bengali Vaishnavism is not what I need. Vishnu is the deity of peace and tranquility, who would think of committing all those atrocities in his honor. Although I wonder whether it's worth looking for logic in the actions of someone who is willing to cut off heads. Some time went by. There were no other visitors in the section, so Manu decided to sit down next to me. He started talking while leafing through the books. I see you're no longer reading about the Bengali Vaishnavism. Are you no longer interested in it? I just think it's not what I need. So are you looking for something specific after all? You can tell me about it. I am very well versed in religious texts. He could help me a lot, but what if he starts telling people about it? Maybe I should scare him or ask him to keep his mouth shut. Fine, just... keep this conversation a secret. I will tell you if you promise to keep it to yourself, everything I say. It may sound strange, but talking about religion is a very personal matter. And I don't think it should be the subject of other people's conversations. He threw up his hands, indignant. Of course, I won't talk. I am a tactful person, and I am not used to sharing secrets that aren't mine. I nodded gratefully, folding my hands on the table. I won't be fully honest, anyway. I have no idea what's going on in his head. What if he just decides to spill the beans? I will only discuss what's necessary without going into much detail. I'm interested in a symbol that I didn't find in any book so far. Maybe you know something about it? Sure, show it to me. Manu pulled out his pocket, a Walt pencil and a small notepad, which was scribbled all over. He tore a page from it and handed it to me, quickly with the pencil. I quickly drew the symbol found at the crime scene from memory. Manu took the page from my hands and began to study the symbol. Out of habit, I began to stare at his face, expecting some kind of hidden reaction. He frowned at first, then pressed his lips together in a tight line. This is a rather unusual symbol. It never really comes up because, well, let's just say it's non-canonical. Really? Yes, because typically only one of the two is depicted, the moon or the sun. And here they're depicted together. What does that even mean? Some kind of strength, power? Something like that, but not really. The sun is a personification of power and strength. The moon is a personification of wisdom, prudence, and tranquility. And together they're two halves, two opposites. Opposites in Hinduism, it sounds like feminine and masculine. Oh. Such a simple but important guess. Suddenly shed light on an essential part of my questions. You mean the thing we've been literally talking about? So, should I take a closer look at Shaktism or Shaivism? But the symbol must have another explanation. The crescent moon is considered an attribute of Shiva, isn't it? Yes, that's right. However, it's often attributed to Shakti, that is, to some forms of Parvati, the wife of Shiva. I buried my head in my hands. Listen, no, it's not just Hinduism, it's every goddamn religion. Everything's so goddamn cryptic. Hinduism can be very confusing. To understand better, it's worth taking a closer look at certain books. But we don't have all of them here at the library. He motioned for me to follow him and headed down another corridor. Let's look in another section. As we walked, he continued, there are some interpretations of the Tantras. They don't reflect all of the details, unlike the source material. There is a lot of unique information to be found in the Sanskrit originals. And where can I find them? Pretty much nowhere, or at least not here. Oh, just brilliant. Sorry, but some private collectors try to keep the originals away from people. Why? Some believe that people in the lower chest are forbidden to read and know about secret religious practices. But I'm not in the lower chest. I don't belong into any chest. Perhaps that's even worse. Hiding important details about the Samhitas or Tantras from outsiders could also be their goal. I sighed in disappointment looking down at the floor. I was irritated by how hard it was to gather snippets of information. I had to grab onto every tiny detail, squeezing every little drop of knowledge out of it. Okay, I'll be fine with what I have. I'll find something else for you. I just nodded, lost in thought. He disappeared behind the shelves. How confusing. How can I figure out where to go next? I'll walk through the section, help Manu in his search. I wandered aimlessly, occasionally stopping to look at various book spines lining the shelves. Crescent moon, sun, feminine energy, masculine energy, unity, power. Every thought began to get confused and tangled in my head, turning into a useless mess. What did I expect, though? Did I really think this investigation was going to be easy? Stop whining, keep working, Amala. You can't give up so easily. I reached the dead end of the aisle. Another bookcase lined with volumes was propped up against the wall. I took a step closer and examined the books on the shelves. Interpretation of Tantrasara. Wow. It'll be interesting to check it out. It's a pity that it's not the original, but Manu warned me about this. I reached for the spine to pull the book off the shelf, but to my surprise, it was covered in a thick layer of dust. I had to stand on my tiptoes to reach the book, but I hit my little toe in the process. Ouch! I doubled over and cursed quietly. How did I manage to hit a flat bookcase? Yeah, no, I'm gonna ask the same. Squatting down, I pressed my hand to my foot, which was throbbing in pain. My gaze accidentally fell to the ground, and that's when I noticed the bookcase wasn't actually standing on the floor. It was slightly raised and stood on casters. Something distracted from my pain, I took a closer look. I must have hit the bloody wheel. I turned around to look at the other bookcases. They were standing fully on the floor, had nothing below them. A wave of excitement took over me, and I enthusiastically began to study the unusual bookcase. While Manu was busy in another part of the section, I decided to entertain myself. Will I be able to move it? Otherwise, why would it even have wheels? I tried to pull the bookcase away from the wall, but it proved to be very difficult. For a good while, I tried my best to move it, but it was all in vain. I decided to give it one final go and yanked the bookshelf towards me with all my might, leaning against the wall with one foot. All of a sudden, my hand slipped and I fell to the floor with a loud crash. Good job. I barely escaped hitting my head, and I was left rubbing my achy tailbone. Another fall like this, and I won't be able to get up again. Okay, bookcase opens. Raised my head to look back at the bookcase, I realized I was actually managed to move it a little. Instantly jumping to my feet, I darted to the slight gap now visible behind it. To my surprise, the bookcase had budged a little, along with part of the wall, forming a passage. Whoa, what's this? A secret door? It's like I'm in an Agatha Christie novel. Although, if you think about it, there's nothing strange about this. I believe this library used to be a home of a prominent Bengali figure. There are usually many secret rooms in such buildings. But why does the National Library still have one? The thought of going inside promptly came to my mind. It was silly, inappropriate, and, well, frightening thought. Why should I go into God knows where? And yet I decided to do it. It couldn't be helped. Should I let Manu know? Do not let him know. I won't. I'm sure he'll try to talk me out of it, or maybe even refuse to let me go in. He surely knows about this passage, and keeping it a secret on purpose. Without further hesitation, I dashed into the gap between the bookcases and the wall. The narrow, short corridor behind it was dark and musty. The air inside of it was stuffy and damp. Ugh. However, I quickly walked through it, and then there it was. As soon as I saw where I was, a gasp of admiration escaped my lips. It echoed across the spacious room, all lined with bookshelves. I looked around me. The hall was about 1,000 square feet, and the furniture here was different from the rest of the library. A massive, expensive, and beautifully carved from a natural dark oak. It must have cost a fortune to fill such a large room with such furniture. Oh, wow. Where did I end up? I walked over to the nearest bookcase. Apart from the luxurious sofas and thousands of books, there was nothing there. It seemed to be a continuation of the library, but a very special section. I immediately started wondering what kind of books were kept there. I began to read aloud. Dashi Avidya interpretation of the Mahanarnavara Tantrum? And the original of the Mahanirvana Tantra. Oh my, this is one of the sacred texts of Shaktism and Shaivism. It's an actual treasure. Overwhelmed with joy and excitement, I didn't hear the footsteps behind me. Someone's hand touched my shoulder. I jerked back and firmly pushed the person standing behind me as if some fighting instinct had kicked in. I took them by surprise, the fingers on my shoulders loosened. Taking advantage of this moment, I sharply turned towards them. Oh, Manu? He's very disgruntled with you. Miss Khan, you're crazy. Why are you sneaking up on me and grabbing me? Because you shouldn't be here. You should have called out to me instead of scaring me, especially in such a place. Do you know what a desperate and frightened woman is capable of? You should be grateful that your nose is still in one piece. He rubbed his forehead and frowned. You must leave now. How did you get in here? I came in through... I know that, but how did you find it? What is this place, and what kind of hall is this? This is the private collection of a prominent Brahmi family. I am responsible for this section, and I keep the entrance safe from nosy fools like you. Ah, we're to the point where we're name-calling and insulting now. I didn't know I was on Twitter. Are the Brahmins allowed to have such wealth? People from the Brahmin caste don't always follow the footsteps of their ancestors, okay? So this family bought the whole room from the library for their books? Yes, and you must get out of here immediately now. See, it's a good thing we didn't tell him about it. Intuition, always be independent. I slipped past Manu, making him even more annoyed. I wanted to inspect, touch, study everything here. I got into a unique secret room where members of the highest caste keep their personal collection of books. Miss Khan! Manu chased me down and to try and drag me out of the room. Before he could catch up with me, I turned to him. Hey, slow down. Miss Khan, I told you, we cannot be here. Both of us will be severely punished. Then be quiet or help me find the original so I can be done faster. The young man just opened his mouth, choking with outrage. You... what? How? I am sure that you'll be punished more than me, since you're responsible for this section. If you don't want this to happen, please help me figure this out as quickly as possible. How dare you? I'm just looking for information, and I won't give up. It's up to you to decide how you want this to end. If you help me right away, there'll be no consequences. Or, if you get in the way, they'll find out, and you'll be punished. What will you choose? You are a terrible person. No, I just want to finish what I started. Help me, please? Young man clenched his teeth, torn between desire to get rid of me as soon as possible and the fear of getting caught. After a short internal struggle, he finally took pity on me. Fine, I can't believe I'm really saying this. Let's go quickly, and no nonsense. The nonsense is you trying to prevent people from learning. I wanted to scream with joy, but he would have certainly killed me if I actually did. Without wasting time, I decided to start searching. Look for the originals. Man who interrupted me. I know exactly what to look for, and I wish I didn't. So dramatic. Don't touch anything here, he muttered under his breath, irritated. Reckless girl. For a few moments, he frantically searched for something on one of the shelves. Then he pulled out a large and somewhat battered tome, his hands trembling with reverence. Here. He was staring at the book in awe. I think there are many answers inside this. But if someone finds out that I even touched it, they will have my head. No, literally, they'll have your head. Your head? Interesting way of putting it. Yes, I will be severely punished. What kind of book is this? Carefully put the tome down on the oak table and gently ran his hand over the cover. This is a treasure. Vamachare Bravia. This tantra is about the world's extents through the lens of Shaktism. I never heard of it. Do you think the owners of such a treasure would announce it left and right? So long story short, in case you guys didn't know this, the Vatican has the same thing. They literally have a huge, massive archive of forgotten books and things lost throughout the decades and age. Like, the Vatican themselves has a lot. Christianity has its own archives. Like, every religion has its own little hidden bullshit archives. You know, just FYI, more you know kind of moment here. It's probably very old and valuable. And you still let me look at it, even read it? You truly are helpful. It's not about you. I've long dreamed of at least looking at it closer. Since I'm here, and I'm risking it all because of you, I might as well do this. I could see his eyes glisten when he looked at the book. As a true bibliophile, he knew the value of such an ancient text. Spending it days in the library guarding his private section, he probably saw the owners take this book out more than once. Having read and reread all religious texts he was interested in, must have been dying of curiosity. He dreamed of at least glancing at it, and of course, reading it. It was understandable. As a last resort, I'll blame everything on you. I was about to object and put the young man in his place when he cut me off by reading a line from the book in Sanskrit. Those who know both birth and death by means of destruction, having crossed death, achieve immortality through birth. There is a part entirely consistent of yajus here. Are yajus the Vedic texts containing mantras for sacrifice? Yes, and these texts are used for sacrifice ritual. Resigning yourself and accepting death is an honor. That's what the mantras say, right? Yes. Accept death and attain immortality of the soul. Some of these mantras are very dark. So, Vamchara Bhavya is black tantrism of the left hand. E is a call to feminine principle, which is sometimes called the left-hand path. Interesting. It's not true that the left-hand path consists of only dark tantras. Saying that the right hand, the masculine path of Shiva, is good and the left hand is bad, it's nonsense. Do they still teach you that the left tantras are bad and dangerous? No, but it must be hard for you without actual practice. Well, remember, left-hand tantrism is not always dark texts, although some of them are quite gloomy. But more often it's because the cult of Kali or Durga. By the way, there's a part about that as well. Well, tell me about it. What's written there? The brutal murder and symbolism are most likely related to the dark tantras, which makes sense. Ah, so this is what you're interested in. Dark practices. I'm not sure, but I think so. Kala Shaktism, the worship of the Dark Mother, will interest you then. The Dark Mother is Kali, right? Yes, the violent manifestation of Devi, the feminine manifestation of God. Let's look at one legend to see what it's all about. It's in this book. The Birth of the Great Mother. It's not about the dark side of the mother, but you should hear it before continuing. Tell me, in detail. I want to know everything. As an Indologist, I think you know this story very well. Oh, now he all of a sudden knows we're an Indologist too. How much do you know, dude? But there are details here that you can't find anywhere else. I'm all ears. So the legend of Maha Shivarati Festival, about the sacred union of Shiva and Shakti and the birth of goddess Parvati. Oh, we have artwork. Shiva's first wife was Kosati. She was Deva, the female form of god of Hinduism. One day Sati's father, Daksha, organized a yajna, but he didn't invite Sati or Shiva. Yanja is a ritual sacrifice. Daksha and Shiva had a tense relationship. But sweet Sati wanted to go and went to the yanja alone. However, the father ignored his daughter and did not even offer prasadam to Shiva, the sacred offering of food to God, as an expression of love and devotion. He didn't pay due respect to Shiva, the beloved husband of Sati. Sati was so insulted and heartbroken that she could no longer live. She rushed headlong into the fire of Yajna. This is where Sati Rite takes its name from, when a widow, after the death of her husband, follows him into the funeral pyre. Shiva, hearing about his wife's deed, was angry, heartbroken. He was so sad to live alone without his beloved Sati. He immediately appeared at the scene of the tragedy, the Yaja of Daksha, and took his wife's body in his arms. Shiva began to perform the Rudra Tandava dance, the dance of destruction. He destroyed Daksha's domain. Everyone was scared because Shiva had such power. He could destroy the universe with his dance. Vishnu, the second god of Vector Triad, came to the rescue. He split Sati's body into 12 parts, scattered them all over the world. The places where each piece fell became holy. And Shiva, saddened by the loneliness, went to the Himalayas and practiced asceticism and meditation. In the family of God of the Himalayas, Sati was reborn in a new body as Parvati. Parvati wanted to return to her beloved Shiva, but it was very difficult to interrupt his meditation. So she asked Kamadeva, the god of love and passion, for help. Kamadeva told Parvati to dance in front of Shiva to get his attention. Parvati began her dance and Kamadeva shot an arrow of passion at Shiva. Then Parvati undertook an even more serious ascetic practice and finally was able to attract the attention of her beloved. Through her devotion and love, Parvati remarried Shiva. I suddenly realized, oh, you listen to legend, this knowledge will be useful in the future. I suddenly realized that I was spellbound listening to Manu this entire time. It's an interesting story, it is. Yes, I knew this legend, but not in such detail. To understand how and why the Dark Mother was born, we need to know about the birth of Parvati, her peaceful manifestation. As the mother of all phenomenon and beings, she creates, preserves, and destroys the universe. He was reading aloud. She is the energy of the three-eyed Shiva. Creates, preserves, and destroys such power. Manu suddenly looked at the door through which he entered. I think I heard voices. Really? I'll go check it out. He quickly headed towards the corridor. I was left waiting. I hope there's no one there. I want to study Vamachara Bhava in more detail. Manu reappeared a few moments later, rushing straight to the book. There are visitors in this section. We need to put everything back and get out. But really? We didn't get the information I need. Manu was no longer listening to me. He closed the tome and rushed to the shelf to put it back. Come on, Miss Con, you promised. Yeah. I looked around in confusion, feeling annoyed at the realization that I didn't even do everything I could have done. My gaze fell on the first bookcase I had approached. Maybe I can steal something? Ah, there's your first choice. Quick, let's steal literature. There are so many books here. Who will even notice? Manu finished putting everything back and immediately walked towards the exit. Come on! I followed him. When Manu disappeared into the corridor, I had exactly 3 seconds to make up my mind. I will not steal but borrow. But which one? So we don't get a choice not to steal. The original, the interpretation, the original. I'll take this one. This is an incredibly important text. They will definitely notice that it's missing, but I really do need the original besides. I will return it later. I definitely fished the book from the shelf and hid it in the folds of my clothing. And when if Manu gets in trouble because of me? Ugh, yes, I know it's not right. Sliding through the passage, I left the private section, running after Manu. When we left, the young man, using all of his strength, closed the passage to the corridor. I know you're disappointed, but we couldn't stay any longer. I understand. Do they come here often, the owners of the private section? No, fairly rarely, but someone else could have noticed us. Have you really never been in there before today? No, I didn't have the nerve to go in. But I see that you're different. May I ask you a question? Of course. If you are an Indologist, then you already know a lot about what I told you today. Did you really need my help? A lot of responsibilities fell on my shoulders right after graduation. I didn't have the opportunity to work as an Indologist due to my family issues. Taking care of my family and running a business gradually began to replace any other knowledge in my head. I know a lot, but not as much as an experienced Indologist. I needed your help. Well then, is there anything else I can help you with, besides breaking and entering? No, thank you. I said goodbye to Manu, and thanking him for everything. He told me that it was a pleasure meeting me, despite the fact that I was, in exact words, insane. Well, he also called you a fool, but you know. Manu also kindly added that if I wanted to visit again, I should contact him. And that's what we agreed on. When I returned home, it was already dark. I said hello to my host, dined with him, and also called Killian. The day was coming to an end, and I was completely exhausted. I hid my stolen treasure and collapsed onto the bed. Thoughts coiled in my head, reflections lingered, and I gradually drifted off. I ended up falling into a deep sleep for the first time in several days. My night was serene. I woke up early the next morning. The excitement that I felt at the thought of the book made me jump out of bed. After washing and finally waking up, I began to get ready for the day. Miss Kahan, beaming with joy, told me that she had several wonderful saris ready for me. We have a delicate, a charming, a lightweight. I go with the purple, why not? Let me guess, in before hairstyle change too? So beautiful. God damn it, I'm good. With quartz with amethyst. We'll go with the amethyst even though I'm a fan of quartz. Then, wanting to add a little something more to my look, I thought of a nose ring. The girls here often wear one, and it looks incredibly beautiful. Are you serious? Plain ring. Beautiful ring. Stud. I don't see that as beautiful. It looks weird, actually. I will go with the plain one, though. I guess she's just gonna get a nose piercing first thing in the morning, just... Ow! I put on my wonderful outfit and twirled in front of the mirror. What a beautiful girl. So pretty. My self-esteem is on a roller coaster. It goes up and down and up and down. That's everybody, let's be honest. After admiring myself for a moment longer, I had a quick breakfast and returned to my room. I was eager to read the book, learning all the fascinating details and completely immerse myself in my work. A couple of minutes after I had started, Santa knocked on the door. She looked inside, about to tell me something, and then she saw what I was holding in my hands. You're an idiot. Miss Conn, where did you get this? Shh, no need to shout about it. The maid stepped inside, keeping her dark eyes on the book. Maha Nirvana Tantra, what did you get yourself into? What did I get myself into? Where did you get the book? And why did you get it? Be careful with Vamachara. The left path has many sides, and not all of them are the light. Yeah, you were about to answer, but Priyanka's voice came from outside the door. Sana, why are you still in there? I hastily covered the book with a pillow before she entered the room. We both smiled at Miss Kahan, but our conspiratorial looks could not escape her attention. What are you doing there? Sana helped me with the, pala of my seri. I haven't got used to it yet. Amala, please go down to the living room. Why? Just do it. Sana, you stay here with me. I decided not to argue and obey my host. With one last glance at Santa, I left the room and headed for the stairs. To my surprise, Killian was standing in the middle of the living room with his hands clasped behind his back. Good morning, Amala. Oh yes, good morning. I didn't expect to see him here at all. Actually, I felt embarrassed. After what happened in the conference room, my ears turned red every time I looked at him. Oh. What, because you told him you might be going insane? How are you, doing? I'm fine. Would you like to have a seat? I saw the thing on the wall sparkle. What was up with that? Killian nodded curtly as he sat down on the soft sofa. I sat down next to him, neatly straightening my sari. And Killian looked at me intently and openly, and not hiding his interest. Very, very beautiful. What exactly? This. Sari. Everything about you is beautiful. Killian really likes the way you look. You have something to tell me? Sort of. I wanted to talk to you about work. Fine, so what about it? Killian took a deep breath, as if to collect his thoughts. He was staring at the floor, biting his lip. I tensed a little, afraid to hear bad news. Being near Killian made me feel nervous, excited at the same time. I wanted to tell you something, Amala. I hope this won't change anything. You're scaring me. Finally, he looked up at me. I am interested in you. Okay, that came out of nowhere. I would say very, very interested. After a brief pause, Killian added, so we need to keep our distance from each other. We're getting closer, and this will negatively affect our work. Did I miss a memo? He spoke calmly, quietly, thoughtfully, but his soft half-whisper caused an instant wave of emotion inside me. Is this really what you wanted to say? Yes. It felt as if iced water had just been poured on my head. Confusion, surprise, and disappointment. I see. Fine. There was a note of bitterness in my voice that I couldn't get rid of. I got up from the couch, about to leave, looking at Killian's calm face felt like torture. And you opened up to him. Stupid girl. Ah, don't give me that. He got up too. Amala, wait, hear me out. What else do I need to hear? Don't be like that, let's talk calmly. He insisted. Stay. I tried to calm down, clenching my hands in a fist and taking a deep breath. Maybe I still wanted to listen to him in spite of the roaring pain inside of me. I muttered. Okay, fine. Slowly sitting back down, I reluctantly looked at him. He also sank back onto the sofa. Thank you. I wanted to tell you everything honestly as it is, because I respect you. It's important for me to keep my focus on work. It takes all of my energy. But I often find myself thinking about you. Well, I should be thinking about the case. What was the point of the conversation in the conference room, then? Why did you support me? Talk to me. Sounds like she jumped to the conclusion of her wanting a relationship with him because of emotions were shared. Interesting. How could I not be there for you, Amala? That's the problem. I got so nervous when I saw you. Upset, insecure, lost. I don't know, it unsettled me. I've been thinking about you all evening. It's difficult for me to concentrate on anything else. And I realized I can't do this. I can't be torn between you and my responsibilities. But I wasn't asking for much. I don't want to give just a little bit. I want to give you everything. But here in Calcutta, with this confusing case, we just can't afford that everything. My chest felt heavy, painful. I wanted to understand Killian, agree with his words, but I couldn't. The disappointment and pain that blurred my vision suddenly began to speak instead of me. Do you think I'll let you treat me like that? Pull me closer, push me away whenever you fancy it? Amala, calm down. I'm calm and I'm leaving. To hell with this. You're right, we don't need this. Feeling my blood boil, I angrily dashed out of the living room. There was pain somewhere deep beneath this anger, because I dared to believe that I could trust him. Behind my back, I heard Killian get up from the couch. My heart pounded faster when I thought that he might want to catch up with me. Fine. As I approached the stairs, Killian gently caught my hand. I turned sharply to him, flushed with resentment. What do you want? Let's not do it like this. We still have to work together. You should have thought about it before. I roughly snatched back my hand out of his fingers, looking away. Look, we have hearts on the screen. Isn't that cute? Words did not come, stuck somewhere in my throat. This was a lump I couldn't swallow. Amala. He spoke more quietly, his low voice sounding velvety and hoarse. He took one step closer to me, and his scent reached me. I shook my head, trying to shake off my feelings for him. It didn't work. I don't need these mind games. I met his gaze, gray eyes, in which a thunderstorm was brewing. It was hard to understand what he really wanted, to get away from me or to get closer. This uncertainty tormented me. After thinking that maybe I should share my experiences with Killian, returning to the reality of being all alone was a horrible feeling. Why did it have to come to this? I didn't mean to, believe me, Amala. I didn't mean to. His large hand softly slid to my cheek and gently caressed me. He looked at me, spellbound with awe, as if I were precious to him. I looked up at him. I wanted to free my hand from his grasp. And instead, I leaned forward just a little, barely an inch, but this tiny space was everything. The inch swept away all the obstacles that we tried to build between us. It was enough for Killian to understand what I wanted. He leaned towards me, took my chin with his fingers, and kissed me. He kissed me despite all he had just told me, simply because he wanted to. It became a point of no return for us. Hundreds of butterflies fluttered in my stomach. Killian kissed me gently, slowly, as if he expected me to push him away at any moment. I stood up on my tiptoes so that he didn't have to bend down, and timidly parted my lips in response. I gently grazed the hand with which he touched me. My movement drew a sudden sigh of pleasure from his lips. His kiss grew bolder, more persistent, as long waited and impossible to resist as it was. I caught his breath with my lips, melted in his incredible scent. I enjoyed this moment of devotion to me and me alone. He didn't dare to hug me, touch me, where I could consider it inappropriate. He only touched me with his lips, holding his fingers on my chin. It was hard to imagine that such a big, strong, serious-looking man could be so soft and gentle, so open to me. I only made things worse. A hoarse whisper hit my lips. You did what you wanted to. He looked me in the eye. Pain and pleasure were intertwined on his face. The gravity of this decision and the joy of being closer to me. It seemed as if there were more obstacles grew between us and the less distance separated us. Amala, it will hurt us even more. I just shook my head. I liked standing so close to him, and I liked seeing the real him. Not sensible and cold like at work, but sensual and kind like now. If you didn't want to, you wouldn't have kissed me. He pulled away from me, covering his mouth with his hand and looking away. He looked disoriented. Taking a few more steps away from me, he muttered, I'd better leave now, it's the right thing to do. Before I could say anything, Killian opened the front door and disappeared into the street. And I was left standing alone, flushed, confused, and not sure what to do. Silently heading up the stairs, I tried to calm down my blushing face. When I got to the second floor, Santa and Miss Cahoon were already left my room. Santa looked slightly anxious. What's going on? Oh, Amala, you're here already. I mean, I was only gone like 5 minutes. Everything is fine, Miss Con. Sometimes you need to drink when reading this shit out loud. It's very hard, like, mouth drawing. Really? Yes, I'm just a little worried. Why? Miss Cahoon intervened. Sana's wedding will be earlier than we thought. It's time for us to start preparing for the big day. No. Get in your room. Check on the book, damn it. I bet you she doesn't even check until, like, next chapter or whenever. 2 independence, 2 loyalty, 1 respect. Let's get those diamonds. Alright, without further ado, thank you all for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Head down in the description, plenty of things to check out there. Without further ado, let me say the following. So, like I said, I've been doing this all day. I'm trying to take advantage of the diamond rush. So, constantly chain reading, right? Yeah, it takes its toll really a lot, very greatly on my throat. So, sitting here doing all this reading all day long because we've done crimes and we've done, you know, many chapters of this one, trying to stock up and everything else. So, I'm tired. Please send help. But I'm trying to get this stuff done during the diamond event, and that way so you guys can also have content. So, I was meant to do a lot of other things today, and I just decided I'll just put it on the back burner and just focus on this. So, I will say this following. One thing that did catch my attention during the video. So, I get it. First and foremost, religion is so damn confusing. Trust me, as a person who studied at least 3 to 4 religions in my life, trying to seek a higher power, especially for answers to what all was going on in my life when I was younger, and I found no actual answers. All I found was more questions and more confusion and more hurt and anger and whatnot at the, you know, God or whoever you wish to, you know, put in that place. Yeah, no, it was I did kind of like a soul searching, and then I kind of gave up. So I will say that. I went through a lot. And that's why I tried to search for maybe God was in God for Christianity was wrong for me. Maybe there was that was wrong for me, so I tried other religions along the way. Clearly none of them really fit me. I know there's more than a dozen religions in this world, but I digress. That's what's even more complicated about it. That being said, also, Killian, you know, I got a lot of guys either see, well, how about this? A lot of people either see guys as toxic masculinity, which is complete and utter rubbish in and of itself. There's just bad people. There's bad men, there's bad women, You know, people could say there was toxic femininity, right? So my point is it's bad people. People look at masculinity as a really bad thing. Not everyone, but a lot. And social media and everything else tries to push it down. And men are just supposed to be crybaby bitches. And they're just supposed to wow, wow, wow all the live long day. And then, no, men are supposed to also keep that masculinity. I'm just saying. So my mentality and whatnot on this is you can be a very strong man. You can be someone who can be as strong as a statue, right? And have no emotions whatsoever when you have to be. And for a handful of us, myself included, I am one of those people. However, we do have a soft, mushy inside. We just let a very select one or two people in our lives ever see that side. Right? Yeah, like, and that's even, how can I put this? That's limited. You really, for me, I'm speaking on behalf of me, you really have to put a lot of trust in the person. And I've only had one of those people in my entire life. And yes, while being completely closed off to the world and not really talking about my own issues is a thing in and of itself. And yes, I should have in my life been a little bit more forward with my issues and why I am how I am. The world's a very harsh place. And people, there are a lot of people in this world who will use things against you. Just to hurt you, just for the hell of it. So you have to be careful with what you say, with who, because people can hurt you. Even people in relationships can, cling on to something and then use it to hurt you. Just saying. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all later. Peace out.